this business morning. Yes, the location is different. It's the Federal Capital Territory, but it still channels television. And I'm in John McQuarrie. And it's still 55 minutes of current and relevant business conversation. That's what awaits us on this episode of the program. As usual, we start from the global space, which is where we would normally start. Oil prices edge high on Wednesday, finding some respite after that plummeting. Edge high on Wednesday, finding some respite after that plummeting in the last two sessions as investors assess the stability of a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. That was all over the news yesterday. At least they say it's fragile, but there's an agreement. So we see that Brent gained 75 cents. That's more than 1% to $67.89 a barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude also gained 71 cents. That's also more than 1%, to $65.08. Brent settled on Tuesday at its lowest since June 10 and WTI since June 5, both before Israel launched a surprise attack on key Iranian military and nuclear facilities on June 13. Prices had rallied to 5-month high after the U.S. attacked Iran's nuclear facilities over the weekend. U.S. strikes did not destroy Iran's nuclear capability, we hear, and only set it back for a few months, even though Israel has a different perspective to that, as the two countries lifted civilian restrictions after 12 days of war, which the U.S. joined with an attack on Iranians' uranium enrichment facilities. Each sought to claim victory. And so we see investors also, on the other hand, awaiting U.S. government data that's due later on today. Domestic crude and fuel stockpiles, that's expected today. U.S. crude fell by 4.23 million barrels in the weekend of June 20, according to American Petroleum Institute. Now we come home to Nigeria, and it's some good cheery news for us in Nigeria because the country has recorded significant progress towards exiting the Financial Action Task Force grey list that has been hanging over our head for some time. That follows the successful implementation of the strategic reforms in the anti-money laundering, counter-financing of terrorism, and counter-proliferation financing framework of the federal government. The implementing agency, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, the state stated this in a statement signed by the director of the unit, Mrs. Hafsat Bakari. The grey list of the task force identifies countries actively working to address strategic deficiencies in their anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing regimes. Well, inclusion on the grey list signifies increased monitoring by the global body, which can lead to negative economic and reputational consequences for the listed countries. So according to the statement, Mrs. Bakari said that the plenary session, that the task force in Strasbourg, France, and adds that the commitment of President Bola Tinubu, the Minister of Justice, the Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Interior, as well as the National Security Advisor and other ministers, have helped to drive the reforms. Away from that now, Vice President Kashim Shettima has applauded the over $1 billion Green Imperative Agriculture Initiative, saying that it is a milestone in Nigeria's renewed strategic alliance with Brazil, grounded in mutual respect and practical cooperation. The VP says that the partnership represents a shared dream between two major democracies committed to practical outcomes and mutual prosperity. Meanwhile, Nigeria is set to sign more than 30 memorandum of understanding with Brazil as the second session of the Nigeria-Brazil Strategic Dialogue Mechanism kicks off in Abuja. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Communications for Office of the Vice President, Stanley Nwokocha, disclosed this in a statement announcing the arrival of Brazil's Vice President to begin the high-profile 3-day state visit aimed at deepening bilateral ties between the two countries. Now, the Nigeria Customs Service has announced its target to generate 6.58 trillion naira this year, 2025. The Deputy Controller General of Customs in charge of Finance, Administration and Technical Services, DCG Bello Muhammad Jibo, gave the breakdown at the budget defense of the service at the House of Representatives. He said that the revenue target for the year 2025 is based on the medium-term revenue framework approved by the National Assembly. The DCP also notes that the management of the Nigeria Customs Service is considerably determined to ensure that the 2025 to 2027 fiscal strategy plan scales through successfully. I must add that an increase in the targets of the customs is a pain to the manufacturers and importers and exporters. We've had that conversation a couple of times on Business Morning, and of course, we look forward to the reforms where it is being proposed, that the FIRS will be the only agency collecting taxes, and perhaps that would remove the pressure, perhaps. Now, we know the China-Africa Summit or Forum just ended, where Ladi Williams was representing Channels Television and reported the details. Now, it was a meeting right here, a summit by the parliamentary, the lawmakers, the House of Representatives, to be specific. They met and are talking about the ease of doing business with China. What are some of the laws that can be put in place? Well, they seem to have gathered some point after a summit that was held in Lagos. China and Nigeria established a formal diplomatic relationship in 1971. However, this is the first time that lawmakers are prioritizing the relationship to the level of holding a sustainable bilateral trade and investment summit towards legislative agenda on ease of doing business.
CEOs of international and local indigenous companies here present.
The host, the chairman of the Committee on Nigeria-China Parliamentary Relations in the House of Representatives, Honorable Jafaru Yakubu, sees the realities of global trade as a major driver for this meeting and promises that it's a gathering like no other.
At the end of the summit, the solutions that will be proffered will be a recommendation through this committee into the House of Representatives through the committee, where we'll put it as a bill and present to the House, which will be sponsored by this committee, to see how we will foster and make business a free flow of business between Nigeria and China.
For China's total removal of tariff on goods from 53 African countries, Nigeria included, presents a huge opportunity to boost export revenue. The lack of developed products remains a deterring factor.
China is now Nigeria's largest trading partner and a major provider of infrastructural financing. However, while in this trajectory has been beneficial in many aspects, it is not without asymmetries. First, the trade imbalance between our two countries is very glaring. Nigeria exports primarily raw materials, crude oil, and agricultural produce, while importing value-added goods such as machinery, electronics, and manufactured goods from China.
It's no longer as ancillary, it is now strategic and central.
Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu is represented by the Director General of Nigeria-China Strategic Partnership and Globalization, Joseph Tegbe. He gives executive backing to balancing trade and better relations for both countries.
Collaboration is a shining example of how legislative support can align with executive action to yield enduring value for the nation. It's a positive proof that growth of one arm of government need not come at the expense of the other. Rather, as in this case, when aligned in purpose, they can be formidable partners in progress. Partnership is not a think tank for theory. It is a mechanism for coordination and execution, working under the mandate of federal executive to translate strategy into results.
It's an honor to stand before such.
For China, there are areas to be explored.
The future of Nigeria-China economic cooperation, especially in the context of the Nigeria-China Sustainable Business, Trade and Investment Summit.
The meeting and agreement here is beyond the public sector. Active members of the private sector from both Nigeria and China say they will work for a more balanced relationship.
Yes, I remember. What we're seeing is just the early days of what AI could actually do.
AI for us is a tool.
So we train AI
to build a relationship with China. But of course, the biggest conversation is how intra-African trade can be boosted. So we have right there in the Lagos studio, the vice president in charge of international and national relations, West Africa cross-border traders, and he's also the coordinator of Saki Ose Cooperative, Haji Salami Alasho Adura. Thank you so much, Mr. Alasho Adura, for your time. And I know you have a lot to share with us when it comes to cross-border trading. But what is your perspective? We keep talking about boosting intra-African trade. Some time ago, I had a conversation with our correspondent who is in the Sahel and told us how porous our borders are, and a lot of uncaptured trade. I don't want to call it illegal. Uncaptured trade is going on. But share with us your own experience about cross-border trading between Nigeria and the neighbors.
Yes. Good morning, my sister and brothers. My name is Alhaji Salami Nasiru Alasaudwa. I'm an expert on cross-border trade. Let me talk about trade corridors. All of you know that in Nigeria we have about 6 geopolitical zones. On those 6 geopolitical zones, we have only 5 that share border with Nigeria and its neighboring country. When we start with the northwest, we have Lagos State. We share border with Benin Republic through Seme and the Wodiakpa. We have Ogun State. We share border through Idiroko and Imeko and others. When you are talking about Oyo State, you have Shaki, you have Ijio. Those areas, they share border with Benin Republic. When you now go to the north central, in the north central, you have Barunte local government. We share border with Benin Republic through Shikanda and Okuta. When you go to the Babana, that is in Niger State, they share borders. That is Niger State. When you go to Benue, Benue share border with Cameroon to the river. I'm not going to give some of the details because we don't have time. When you now go to the northwest, in the northwest, you have Dole Kane, you have Samia, you have Kamba. All those mentioned here, they are in Kebbi State. When you now go to, let us take Sokoto. Sokoto, we have Ilela. When you go to Katsina, you have Jibia, you have Meyaradua. When you go to Jega, in Jega, you can talk about Megatari, you talk about other borders that I cannot mention. That is the northwest. When you now go to the northeast, in the northeast, you have Gendo, that is in Jega. I think it should be Yobe. You have Banki, you have Gambaru in Benue. And when you go to you go to Adamawa, you have Mobi. When you go to Taraba, you have Gembo. When you now go to the south, you have Umfum, Orom, all those borders. That is where we are doing trade between Nigeria and its neighboring country. You see the number of borders that are mentioned, there are many between Nigeria and its neighboring countries. This is the information, the first information I wanted to share with you. When you are talking about cross-border trade, you should know which border you are sharing with your neighboring country. You are talking about that our border are porous. Yes, our border are porous, but I disagree. We did not have infrastructure, put it in place. If we put infrastructure in place, you should have a connecting point. What I'm saying, connecting point, when you look at, let us take Bagudo corridors, that is in Birnin Kebbi. That corridors, when you are coming to Jega, either you want it or you don't want it, you have to go through Maje. Those who know those corridors. So when you go to other countries, the security agent, all this information I'm giving to you, they cannot sit down and say, if you are coming to from so areas, what is the transit point that you cannot say that we are going to have a checking point here where we can monitor people? That is in time of, when you are talking about Nigeria border Porous. When you are coming from Owode Apa, you are coming from Seme. Do you go without going to Bagi Bridge? So when people are talking about Porous, I disagree with them. Let us have proper structure in Nigeria. The moment we don't have proper structure.
All right, Alhaji.
Yes.
So there's also the issue with the costs, because, you shared this information with me, the case study that if a truck, a load of goods is transiting from Nigeria to Ghana, it will have to incur some of this, and I hope we can have that slide. At Benin, there's the road maintenance of 0.85%. There's a security tax of 0.5%. There's a custom bond of 0.25%. There's custom stamp of statistics. There's tracking. There's custom clearing services. There's statistics, and then it will go from there to Togo, where it has almost the same custom bond, scale, the turn of each of the trucks, 1% of statistics, tracking of about 15,000 surface per truck. So when you look at this, do you think that perhaps we Africans, we are the ones who are making it difficult for us also to actually trade among ourselves? And yes, we keep preaching AFCFTA and intra-African trade.
Yes, madam. Thank you very much. You see, we have a problem into West African region. When you are talking about good in transit, you talk about interstate roads policy. The interstate roads policy say that the moment you are moving your good from loading point to final destination, you should have a single guarantors. Who are those guarantors? We have 3 types of guarantors. We have bank. In Nigeria, it's Nezim Bank. Nezim Bank is in charge of facilitating good in transit. In Ghana, we have insurance company. And when you go to the other French-speaking country, is their Chamber of Commerce. Is this program is working? The program is not working because we don't have structure in place. When you look at, you talk about good in transit. Yes. When you go to Lagos, Abidjan corridors, we have 2 types of transit levy that we are paying. In Benin Republic, they collect 7.23% statistic. When Togo collect 1%. In time of road maintenance, Benin collect 0.85%, you mentioned. If the ECOWAS Commission are doing their job, because you don't want us to talk the truth, the ECOWAS Commission, what is their role? What are they doing? They are not doing proper job in terms of harmonizing. If you are going to have a next meeting, I want them to be there. The ECOWAS Commission, let the ECOWAS Commission should be there. Let the Ministry of Trade should be there. Let Ministry of Transport to be there. I, Alhaji Salami, say it. I will now ask them question. Does ECOWAS doesn't know that we have been paying different levy along the corridors? What is their duty? What is the duty of interstate road scheme, which was signed in 1990? What is the role of that scheme? These are the problems. When you look at along our corridors, the same ECOWAS say that the moment you generate more than 200 tons of cargo, you should have way bridge. Along your corridors, along Lagos corridor is representing 90% of volume of trade. And Nigeria is representing 70% of volume of trade. Where is the infrastructures along those roads? These are the questions. This meeting you are calling
but
me...
But Alhaji,
yes.
Alhaji, yes. Let me just ask, is the issue with infrastructure or the issue is with the people?
Yes, madam, let me tell you something. I've been in East Africa. I've been in South Africa. I've been in North Africa. What I'm telling you here, when we were doing this, how to formalize cross-border trade, is in Nigeria, in Togo, we signed an MOU with this African Union. They were there, the ECOWAS was there. The recommendation I made in the year 2022, I told them, you are talking about formalizing trade. What is infrastructures? Madam, go to bBorder. Say I say it. Is the scanning working? Is the way bridge working? Is it you, we, private sector, will provide the way bridge? What are they doing with the money they are collecting? What are they doing the revenue they are collecting? When you go to East Africa, you go to South Africa, their infrastructure is working. But if you don't have infrastructure, you did not put infrastructure in place, and then you want to blame the private sectors. The African Continental Free Zone, their General Secretary, he traveled to Abuja, to Seme, together with me. I think about 4 years ago. I told them on that meeting, I said, you are continue doing meeting recommendation. There's no follow-up. This meeting, let us go to Seme border. All of us was there. The custom was there. The Nigerian Shipper Council was there. Nigerian Export Promotion Council was there. We have done that to do the assessment. Ask them questions. Say, I, Salami, say it. That infrastructure along Seme, is it working? When you are talking every time, talking, story, recommendation. No. If I'm lying, let the committee from Abuja, let them come to Seme next week. And let them go and do the assessment on Lagos-Abidjan corridors. And tell me this is the infrastructures they have put in place. Where is the way bridge? Where is the scanning? So if we did not put proper infrastructure in place, we will continue pashi-pashi. You know what we call pashi-pashi? You continue turning up and down. If you want to organize another meeting, you have to call the African Continental Free Zone. You have to call Nigerian Custom. You have to call Nigerian Shipper Council. You have to call Nigerian Export Promotion Council. All of them have to be there. And ECOWAS Commission should be there. When you are calling me alone as an expert on trade, whatever I can say here cannot work. Let them come round table, let us sit down together. When we sit down together, I will be asking them questions. And we are not going to sit down here, we are going to Seme. Lagos-Abidjan corridor represent 19% of volume of trade. Where is the infrastructures? So these are the issues, madam. All of you,
all right.
you are well educated, and you are not doing the right thing. I was asking a question for those who are in the top. I asked them a question. You are talking about formalizing trade. When do you go to Seme border? When do you go to Shikanda border? When do you go to Kilibo or Kerete border? When do you go to Megatari borders? When do you go to Banki border? To go and listen to the problem. The security challenges is poverty, injustice, lack of infrastructures. And then you don't talk about trade when there's no security, when there's no infrastructures, when there's no electricity. You cannot be competitive, madam. You want to be competitive? You should put all those things in place.
All right.
Most of them have been going to Johannesburg. They have been going to Rwanda, going to do meeting there. Is it the same infrastructures? They are in that place.
All right.
So these are the challenges. The moment they didn't put foundation, they don't have foundation. No foundation.
All right, Alhaji, thank you so much. Thank you for bringing those matters up. And that's why we're having
next week.
And that's
madam,
and that's why we're having this conversation.
Tell them I say it.
You know, that's why we're having this conversation.
The Minister of Trade should be there. All the ministry. Let them come to Lagos.
I would tell
them. Let us go to Lagos-Abidjan corridors. Let us go and see it. These are the situations.
All right. To at least some of them, and I'll certainly bring up your concerns and try to get answers. I mean, I'm a journalist. I can just ask the questions. That's why we brought you on the program. Thank you so much for sharing your views and bringing up those issues. Vice President in charge of international and national relations, the West Africa cross-border traders. Thank you so much, Alhaji Salami Alashadura, for your time.
In the 21st century, Nigeria cannot be
All right, so welcome back. It's still Business Morning here on Channels Television, and let's a little bit about what Fidelity Bank is doing before we head into our next conversation. Saying that women in today's economy, the challenges that women face doing business, from navigating a successful career to balancing the demands of motherhood and personal growth. Recognizing these barriers, Fidelity Bank, under the leadership of the first female managing director and Chief Executive Officer Dr. Nneka Onyeka-Ikpe, hosted a roundtable discussion in Lagos, bringing together women who are breaking barriers across various fields of life.
Nigeria, a country with the world's highest percentage of active women entrepreneurs, boasts of 39.7 million micro, small, and medium enterprises, with 23 million of them owned by women. In Lagos alone, a 2019 collaborative survey estimates approximately over 3.2 million micro businesses, and 43.32% of them are owned by women. Beyond the statistics, with resilience and determination, women are daring the odds across various sectors. It is with this knowledge that Fidelity Bank left the doors of its creative SME hub wide open to bright women entrepreneurs in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital, to gain insight at the first of its kind roundtable discussion with its managing director and chief executive officer, Dr. Nneka Onyali-Ikpe. With a career spanning over 30 years, she takes many curious minds on her journey, reflecting on her growth over the years, inspiring other women on how to attain success and achieve a work-life balance.
Work-life balance means that you have to be fully present at work and impact your leadership at work, and of course, the emotional connection at home as a family person.
The roundtable is more than just a masterclass for mothers, wives, and entrepreneurs who are shaping the economy. To them, it is one-in-a-lifetime mentorship opportunity as guests bask in the euphoria of the day, engaging in fun games and winning amazing prizes, courtesy of Fidelity Bank. Some attendees share a glimpse into what fuels their passion and drive.
Some of the things that have helped me to do well: confidence and self-belief, mentorship and support, continuous learning and self-improvement.
There's so much opportunity here if you have the right attitude, and you have to have a go-getter attitude here. I feel like with the right mentality, you can honestly achieve the impossible. So it's fantastic to see an event here where there are so many successful women.
Success Smith, a psychologist and emotional wellness coach, is urging women to invest more in their self-care and mental health, citing it as crucial for overall well-being and success.
So I'm here to tell you today that as a woman, you are a leader and you should prioritize your self-care no matter what.
For Fidelity Bank, the institution says it will continue to contribute meaningfully to society, value diversity and inclusion while prioritizing women and what they represent.
It's a connect with other women and encourage women to deal with the challenges of motherhood, career life, and all what it takes to get to the top.
Despite the hurdles women face at different phases of their lives, they continue to break glass ceilings, redefine success, and create supportive networks that empower each other.
All right, women celebrating themselves and sharing tips. You know, we have to stay healthy and strong to be able to take care of family and business. Thank you to Fidelity Bank there. Now, let's talk about what subnationals are also doing when it comes to trade and ease of doing business. And I have joining me virtually from Delta State, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Delta Special Economic Zone, Mr. Godwin, or he's a pastor, Pastor Godwin Akpovie. Thank you so much for your time. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Lady Amy.
Yeah, so
I'm glad to see you again.
Great, good to see you too. So increasingly, we see the creation of processing zones everywhere. I've had a couple of conversations on entry requirements, maintenance, costs, and all of that. So you also have this in Delta State. But when you create these zones, do you give special attention to a comparative advantage? For instance, in Delta State, you have certain areas or sectors that maybe you lower your requirement to make it easier for individuals to get on board and do business?
In the first place, it's interesting that to know that special economic zone, free trade zone at the core are governed by global law. So the issue of lowering your standards do not arise at all. Free trade zones, special economic zones are defined to be countries within a country that are not in that country. That's why they are enjoying what we call incentives. Once you are in a free trade zone, you are far away from what we call custom territory. You enjoy all sorts of tax. All taxes are not allowed in free trade zone that from national, state, or local. Again, a free trade zone, because going by that definition, there are countries within a country that is not in. Not ask somebody who's producing things in Ghana or in China or in Britain to come and pay tax to Nigeria. Now, what do we stand to gain as a country or as a state? One is the free trade zone to do two major things: create wealth and create jobs. Now, if investors are encouraged enough, they come into free trade zone with heavy, huge capital, $100 million, $50 million, $1 billion. And those capital create a lot of wealth for our people. And of course, the investors do not come with their small carpenter or small furnishers or experts, as the case may be. They employ and create jobs. They do technology transfer for our people. So the issue of reducing standards do not arise in free trade zone. It's the same thing all over the world.
Yeah, but the issue is, I mean, from the conversations I've had, the entry and the cost is really high. So if we're sticking to our guns with this, how many people can really participate and even get of these benefits?
If we are talking of people to participate, because of course, then we are losing focus. To attract investors is to bring in huge FDI, foreign direct investment. The idea is to encourage countries to tap into resources available in another country. Like Delta Free Trade Zone. We have so much gas. We have so much in Delta as a whole. We have so much agricultural, fertile land everywhere. So we are out there to attract investors. Yes, local investors can come in. And if local investors are coming in, this figure you are seeing as a huge figure, they are nothing. They are nothing. That's the truth.
So in Delta states, do you have preferred sectors, maybe based on the crops, agricultural crops, or the mineral resources you have in your state? Do you have preferred sectors for your processing zone?
Oh, yes. We're majoring on oil and gas. We're majoring on petrochemical. And from now is private refinery. We will have 2 private refineries who are already on the table, who are already working. In the next 1 or 2 years, they begin to produce their products within Africa. The petrochemicals are there. The blue and marine businessmen, investors are there. They are bringing so much capital. In our state, we have in cocoa, we have cocoa pots. We have seen investors who are ready to put in billions of dollars to revitalize and revive that place. And when we talk of seaport, we are talking of thousands of jobs. We are talking of millions of dollars investment and creation of wealth. So our lands are very fertile in Delta. We are the highest producer of cassava. Our land is very fertile. We produce palm oil. So we're ready. The free trade zone is ready to accommodate.
All right. We do hope that in the nearest future, there'll be intentionality. I mean, since you have something like cassava, I mean, if you use your free trade zone to attract investors or investment that will add value to it, then I think it would be a good thing for the country, and we hope to see that. And maybe have you back on the program to discuss it in a short time.
Let me quickly mention our Excellency, the Governor, are giving mandate to us, my board and myself, that they must produce enough cassava in Delta State. Is injecting so much fund into cassava and pancake. The essence is that we need the ethanol to produce pharmaceutical products in our free trade zone. So very soon, few months from now, cassava farmers will be laughing to the bank because the off-taker will be in the free trade zone producing pharmaceutical companies and pharmaceutical products.
All right, sir. Well, we hope to have you back on the program when that has started. We would really be happy to talk about it and see some progress. The Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Delta Special Economic Zone, Pastor Godwin Akpovie. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We hope to see you in Delta.
Yeah, we'll hope to be there soon. Well, it's still happening in the global scene. Israel, the US, Iran, President Trump, very angry yesterday. But Will has more details of what's going on in the global scene. Will, over to you.
Good morning. It's good to see you on this side. It's always exciting when you're there and I'm here. It's more like, I need to see your hologram, not just see you on the screen. Like, that should be happening soon. So let's just jump into what's happening. China is stepping up efforts to internationalize the yuan as confidence in the US dollar dips, with the dollar index down over 9% this year and the yuan gaining 2%. And the People's Bank of China is calling for less reliance on a single sovereign currency. Beijing plans to open a center for digital yuan internationalization in Shanghai and expand trading of yuan-based futures. The central bank is also encouraging the use of the digital yuan to replace some cash in circulation. And 3 major Chinese exchanges have now allowed foreign investors access to 16 new futures and option contracts, including rubber, lead, and tin, part of a broader push to attract global players to its markets. Now, still in China, Premier Ling Qiang says China will take steps to become a global consumption powerhouse. Alongside its manufacturing strengths, he expressed confidence in China's growth at a key forum. Economist Louis Liu noted China's strong export position despite tariff threats, saying it remains vital to global supply chains. Leaders from Singapore, Vietnam, and Ecuador attended the event, with Li holding talks with several counterparts over the past week. Now move to Thailand, where the Bank of Thailand kept its policy rate unchanged at 1.75% on Wednesday, with 6 out of 7 committee members voting to hold. The decision aligns with most economists' expectations amid weak growth and low inflation. However, one member backed a rate cut, highlighting internal debate over how to support the economy. Now let's move to still about inflation and what's happening in the economy. Spain's economy expanded by 0.6% in the first quarter of 2025, according to final figures from the National Statistics Institute. On a year-on-year basis, GDP rose 2.8%, matching both earlier estimates and analyst expectations. The data confirms steady growth in line with INE's preliminary April release. Now, former Italian PMS Matteo Renzi and Enrico Letta says Europe must assert itself amid growing U.S. disengagement. Letta warns Trump's second-term agenda weakens multilateralism and pressures allies. German and French leaders echoed the concern, saying Europe must boost defense spending as America shifts focus. They called for stronger European autonomy, warning of a deeply destabilized environment where EU allies may no longer be able to rely on US priorities. Let's head now to Washington, where Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell faced lawmakers on Capitol Hill yesterday, Tuesday, delivering his semi-annual testimony amid rising inflation concerns and political pressure. Our correspondent Maria Bird joins us now with key takeaways with the politics behind the Fed's cautious tone. Maria, it's good to have you on the program. Good morning. Maria, Powell says the Fed's in no rush to cut rates. Did that land well with lawmakers or raise eyebrows? I know you were keeping an eye on what was going on yesterday.
Yes, yesterday was quite a day. Are looking to see how and when they will be able to ensure that the U.S. is able to stay steady within the economy. Now, as we look at exactly this, as you mentioned, this is few weeks around the call for reducing interest rates in the United States by the administration. And obviously, many Americans would love to see that. That was a chairman has been under immense pressure, but he has provided clear indications as to how he believes that inflation is potentially on the rise, how we've seen across the board. And so if he was to reduce interest rates, he believes that we would be potentially. We know that there has always been some discussions over the past year around whether or not the U.S. could chairman's number one focus throughout these past couple of years, and he has not bended administration's request to reduce rates.
We just one more thing before I let you go, Juliana. I just want to know, Powell did say yesterday that he's just there to do the job and he wants to leave a good economy for his successor, and he is not intimidated by what President Trump is doing, as long as he just wants to do his job and get U.S. economy on the right path before he leaves. So he also pointed that, you know, Trump's tariffs is at risk. How much of this trade politics is now shaping Fed's decisions right now? Just a quick one to let us, you know, understand this before we wrap up. Okay, I think we lost Maria there, but yesterday, if we're watching, if you're following the Congress, the hearing yesterday, there was no sense of heat coming from Powell. It was calm, and he did firmly stand on his position, saying that he was not in a rush to leave his position as Fed chair as long as the U.S. economy stays on track, and that's what he is about in the U.S. Until that happens, President Trump probably has to deal with him for much longer. So that's what we have in it. Basically, Trump is putting a lot of pressure on the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, but he is staying put, staying on his ground, and not letting anything sway him as long as he's doing the right thing. So, Aini, I don't know if you can hear me right there where you are in Abuja, but I don't know what your thoughts are. If you had followed the hearing yesterday, it was quite exciting to know that these people were concerned about who is going to pay the price for Trump's tariffs. Is it going to come down to the consumers, or is it just the big companies that are going to suffer it? All the small businesses as well. But Powell did mention that this is going to trickle down to small businesses, to small consumers that are at the receiving end of this also. The U.S. economy is not going to be entirely immune to these tariffs, as we have already seen, and we're hoping that maybe there'll be like some kind of, you know, pushback from countries, and maybe some easing of some of the tariffs. So you see UK and US broker some deal, 10% off, and also no tariff on their steel import, especially for the auto industry, which is not is a big deal for most countries, especially everyone who has to drive a car. So, Ini, I don't know, what are your thoughts on this? Did you follow it yesterday?
Well, Will, thank you so much. The thing is, as Jerome Powell said, at the end of the day, it's the consumers who pay for it, whether it's the big companies or the small companies. It's passed down to the consumers. Maybe not all of the percentage, but I mean most of it, because people are there to, companies are there to do business. And of course, we know President Trump hasn't been very happy recently from the war between Israel and Iran, the ceasefire that was, one fault or the other, whether it's Israel or Iran, said after the ceasefire, there was still an attack. That's on the one hand. And of course, with the cutting of interest rates, which he hasn't been able to achieve. But we'll watch this space and bring the news right here on channel. Thank you so much, Will, for that update from the global scene. And that's where we say thank you so much for also being a part of Business Morning. I'm in Abuja, but it doesn't change anything. We're still here to give you 55 minutes of current and relevant business conversations. And that's what we've done today, looking at cross-border trade and all of that. And we'll give you more tomorrow, God's grace. But I know by 1 p.m., Laddie Williams and Will be back to give you updates from the world of business. That's 1 p.m. coming from Lagos. I'm Ini John Mekwa. I'll see you tomorrow, God's grace.